And we need to know how big the population of people susceptible to the virus might be.
Welcome to Watch Mojo. And today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 disaster movies that could really happen.
Sir, these are based on this morning's signals from those stress measurement instruments that Dr. Adams sank during that experimental well project.
For this list, we'll be looking at disaster movies that eschew the traditional world-ending bombast in favor of more grounded and realistic events. Warning, spoilers will follow. Could you see yourself surviving any of these scenarios? Let us know in the comments below. Number 10. Greenland. World-ending comets and asteroids make good fodder for movies.
Spectacular first images here. These are coming to us live. This is the fragment actually entering the lower atmosphere.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and impact.
1998 saw the 1-2 punch of Armageddon and Deep Impact. In 2020 and 2021, there is Greenland and Adam McKay's satire, Don't Look Up. All tackle the subject in different ways.
Hey, gang, obviously everything we talked about in here, super classified, right? Yeah. Thanks for dressing up.
Greenland is about a comet named Clark that will obliterate civilization in an extinction-level event.
This is an emergency alert. Small molten debris expected to fall in upstate New York.
Isn't that where we are?
Canada. Yeah. Seek shelter immediately.
And whereas Armageddon went full Michael Bay and destroyed its asteroid with a nuclear bomb, Greenland keeps things more grounded. It is far more pessimistic in its approach to hurtling space objects. And the comet actually destroys most of Earth at the end of the movie.
We're right here with you right now, so it doesn't matter what happens, because we're together. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
We're always going to be together.
Somehow, we find that a more realistic outcome. Number 9. Twister. Yes, this movie contains a few, shall we say, exaggerated moments.
Cow. I gotta go, Julia. We got cows.
It is an action movie first and foremost, but what is most tantalizing about this film is its realistic scope. This isn't a world-ending event that will decimate civilization, it's just a couple of really big tornadoes in rural Oklahoma.
We are driving due east on a country road. He's been on for about 6 miles. We got an F3 tube sitting there on the ground, and she's a beauty. Woohoo!
Even the story itself is relatively grounded, as a divorced couple attempt to deploy a fancy new research device into the heart of a tornado. Storm chasing is a real phenomenon, and some people do it for scientific research. Some real tornadoes even bore a striking resemblance to ones found in the film, including one in 2010 that destroyed the very farm at which the movie was filmed. Number 8. Earthquake. Today, the MCU and superhero movies dominate blockbuster cinema. Back in the mid-70s, it was disaster films.
Are you seriously contending that a graduate assistant will be the first scientist in history to pinpoint a major earthquake within 48 hours?
No, sir. But I am following through on Dr. Adams' theories and the probability curves that he drew up.
Earthquake was one of many, and it's about, you guessed it, a devastating earthquake. Measuring 9.9 on the Richter scale, the event leaves most of Los Angeles in ruins. The ensemble cast then deals with the aftermath in various ways, with some acting out in heroic manners while others turn villainous.
Come on, it's a couple dozen blocks back to your house, and now that it's getting dark, the animals are loose. But you just make yourself comfortable inside the store here. I have to send out patrols.
The setting of the film couldn't be more accurate, as Los Angeles has experienced many devastating earthquakes. Some may remember the 1994 Northridge earthquake that left thousands injured and caused the modern equivalent of almost $90 billion in damage. Number 7. San Andreas. This is the modern equivalent of earthquake. Made 40 years later, San Andreas is louder, more bombastic, more visually extravagant, and just a little bit dumber. But regardless of its silly story, the movie's general premise is right on the money. Because Los Angeles lies directly on the San Andreas Fault, it is prone to devastating earthquakes.
Professor, do you think something that intense could happen here? Well, the San Andreas Fault runs right up the spine of California. It's the demarcation line between two tectonic plates that are constantly moving.
And not just earthquakes that cause billions of dollars in damage, complete city-destroying earthquakes, as depicted in the film. In fact, seismologists have recently been warning about an impending earthquake, as a massive one tends to hit the area every 100 to 150 years.
And add to that the fact that it's supposed to happen every 150 years, and we're about 100 years overdue. I'd say it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
The last major earthquake occurred in 1857, striking Parkfield and measuring 7.9 on the moment magnitude scale. Number 6. Contagion. Looking back, it's startling to see how much Contagion got right.
There continue to be evaluations of several drugs, ribavirin is among them. But right now, our best defense has been social distancing.
In fact, many within the scientific community praised the movie for its accuracy, arguing that it struck a perfect balance between drama and realism. Of course, the world is currently in the grip of the COVID-19 pandemic, which has mirrored the film in more ways than one. Jude Law's character is especially topical, as he helps spread conspiracy theories and endangers millions with his outrageous and selfish statements.
What I'm about to tell you is backed up by testimonials that will appear shortly in the popular media. I'll be talking about it extensively in the days ahead.
What does Forsythia do?
It's the cure.
But if anything, Contagion still serves as a warning. Just like the virus in the film, something even more harmful than COVID will eventually come around, and we would do well to prepare for it.
So we have a novel virus with a mortality rate in the low 20s, no treatment protocol, and no vaccine at this time.
That is correct.
Number 5. The day after tomorrow. Make no mistake, climate change is a real thing.
Our climate is fragile. At the rate we're burning fossil fuels and polluting the environment, the ice caps will soon disappear.
However, the events depicted in The Day After Tomorrow are, shall we say, a wee bit exaggerated. However, that's not to say they won't occur. Many experts criticize the movie's science, but the environmental phenomena that occur throughout the movie could technically occur over the course of centuries. The devastation won't occur at the speed at which it does in the movie, but give it some time. A lot of time. Far, far down the line, our distant ancestors may look at The Day After Tomorrow as a rather prescient warning that we failed to heed.
Mankind survived the last ice age. We're certainly capable of surviving this one. All depends on whether or not we're able to learn from our mistakes.
Number 4. The Towering Inferno. One of those mid-70s disaster films, The Towering Inferno was a monumental success.
Now, Doug, one piece of scorched wire from a burned-out circuit breaker is hardly conclusive.
Well, maybe not. But after that, I'm worried about what other shocks we're in for.
Not only was it the highest-grossing movie of 1974, but it also earned an Oscar nomination for Best Picture, an extraordinarily rare occurrence for a disaster film. It takes place in the fictional Glass Tower, which is the highest building in the world at 1,688 feet. Unfortunately, a damper is put on the building's dedication ceremony when an electrical short causes a raging fire.
I thought we were building something where people could work and live and be safe. If you had to cut costs, why didn't you cut floors instead of corners?
Both the disaster and its cause are grounded in realism, with building fires and shoddy electrical installation being an unfortunate aspect of life.
You know, one of these days, you're gonna kill 10,000 in one of these fire traps. And I'm gonna keep eating smoke and bringing out bodies until somebody asks us how to build them.
Number 3. The Airport Franchise. The Airport films were hugely successful throughout the early 70s.
Who do you think you're talking to? Some kid that fixes bicycles? I know every inch of the 707. Take the wings off this and you could use it as a tank. This plane is built to withstand anything, except a bad pilot.
Each has a relatively realistic story, and some have even been mirrored in real-life events. The first concerns a bomber plotting to blow up a 707, much like the story of D.B. Cooper, which occurred just 1 year after the movie's release.
Until that pressure equalizes, everything within 20 feet of him that's not nailed down or strapped in is going to get sucked right out that hole.
Airport 1975 sees two aircraft slamming into each other, an event that was brought to life 4 years later with the Pacific Southwest Airlines Flight 182. In Airport 77, the aircraft is hijacked by a group of thieves who wish to steal the expensive art on board.
How we doing?
Fine. Get him out of here. Time for us to duck under the radar scan and vanish.
Despite the extravagance of the movies themselves, these are all quite realistic scenarios, as is proven by the historic events that followed. Number 2, Dante's Peak. While it's a goofy disaster film at its core, Dante's Peak is quite scientifically accurate.
My 9th grade science teacher once told me that if you put a frog in boiling water, it'll jump right out. But if you put it in cold water and heat it up gradually, it'll just sit there and slowly boil to death.
The United States Geological Survey has praised the film for its accuracy, and it's shown in many high school classrooms around the country to teach teenagers about seismic activity.
I'll take these pH readings and check them against the ones that they did about 15 years ago.
Where? From here?
Mount St. Helens.
And while this type of extreme volcanic eruption makes for a fun movie, it is also an unfortunate reality that thousands upon thousands have faced. For example, the town of Dante's Peak is completely destroyed by the volcano's pyroclastic flows, much like the cities of Pompeii and Herculaneum nearly 2,000 years prior.
What is that? Mom! What is that?
That's a pyroclastic cloud.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1, The Poseidon Adventure.
I demand we dock Monday night.
And I can't afford to gamble with the lives of my passengers.
Your business is to deliver this ship where we want it, when we want it.
A full 60 years before this movie was released, the Titanic struck an iceberg and sank off the coast of Newfoundland, killing upwards of 1,600 people.
I don't know about you, but I intend to write a strongly worded letter to the White Star Line about all this.
Like the Titanic, the SS Poseidon is an ocean liner that meets with tragedy in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. While traveling from New York to Greece, the Poseidon is struck by a massive tsunami and capsizes, trapping its inhabitants under the cold, salty water. Ocean liners meeting with disaster is nothing new, and it continues to happen. Exactly 40 years after the movie was released, the Costa Concordia struck a rock and capsized off the coast of Italy, trapping some inhabitants underwater and claiming over 30 lives.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.